In the days of the Persian Empire, when King Xerxes reigned over 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia, his throne was unmatched. His empire was vast, his riches beyond imagination, and his word was law. Yet in the glittering halls of his palace, God was quietly writing a story of courage and deliverance. The king had banished his queen, Vashti, for defying his command, and he sought a new queen. Among the women brought to the palace was a young Jewish woman named Hadassah, known to the Persians as Esther. Orphaned as a child, she had been raised by her cousin Mordecai, a humble but wise man who feared the Lord. Esther was unlike the others. Her beauty shone, but it was her grace and humility that set her apart. The king's heart was captivated, and he placed the royal crown upon her head. Esther, a Jewish exile, was now Queen of Persia, yet her true identity remained hidden. But danger was already rising. Among the king's officials was a man named Haman, a descendant of the Amalekites, ancient enemies of Israel. Proud and consumed by ambition, Haman demanded that all bow before him. Yet Mordecai refused, for he would bow only to God. Haman's pride turned to fury. He plotted not only to destroy Mordecai, but to wipe out the entire Jewish people across the empire. He persuaded King Xerxes with twisted words, offering silver to seal his plot. The king, unaware of Haman's hatred, gave him authority to issue a decree. Letters went out across the provinces. On a chosen day, every Jew was to be annihilated, young and old, men and women, in a single day of bloodshed. When Mordecai heard, he tore his clothes in grief and sent word to Esther. He urged her to intercede with the king, but Esther hesitated. Approaching the king unsummoned meant death, unless he extended his golden scepter. Mordecai's reply thundered across her heart. "Do not think that you will escape in the palace. If you remain silent, deliverance will come from another place. But who knows? Perhaps you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this." Those words stirred courage in Esther's soul. She sent a reply. "Go, gather all the Jews to fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days. I and my maids will fast as well. When this is done, I will go to the king even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." On the 3rd day, Esther put on her royal robes and entered the throne room. The king looked upon her and by God's providence extended his golden scepter. Her life was spared. Esther did not rush her request. Instead, with wisdom, she invited the king and Haman to a banquet. Haman, puffed up with pride, left the banquet boasting to his family. Yet, when he saw Mordecai at the gate, still refusing to bow, his rage burned hotter. That night, he ordered a massive gallows built 75 feet high on which to hang Mordecai. But that same night, the king could not sleep. He ordered the royal records to be read. There, he discovered that Mordecai had once saved his life by exposing assassins. "What honor was given to him?" asked the king. None had been given. At dawn, the king summoned Haman. What should be done for the man the king delights to honor? Thinking it was himself, Haman suggested royal robes, a crown, and a public parade. The king declared, "Do this for Mordecai the Jew. Do not leave out a thing." And so Haman, humiliated, was forced to lead the horse that carried Mordecai through the city streets. That evening, at Esther's second banquet, the queen revealed her secret. With trembling voice, she cried, "I and my people are sold to destruction and death." The king demanded, "Who is he, and where is he?" Esther pointed her finger. "This wicked enemy is Haman." The king, enraged, stormed out into the garden. Haman, desperate, threw himself before Esther to beg. When the king returned and saw him falling upon the queen, he shouted, "Will he assault the queen even in my own house?" At once, Haman was seized and condemned. The king ordered him hanged on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. But though Haman was gone, his decree of death still remained. Once more Esther risked her life, pleading with the king. He granted her request. A new decree was sent. The Jews could now defend themselves against any who rose against them. On the appointed day, instead of destruction. The Jews triumphed. Their enemies were defeated. Their sorrow turned into joy. Mordecai was elevated to a position of power, clothed in royal garments of blue and white, and the festival of Purim was established, a celebration of God's deliverance through a courageous queen. The story of Esther is not one of chance, it is a story of providence. God placed Esther in the palace for such a time as this. Through her courage, the Jewish people were saved. And today, her story speaks to us. When fear surrounds you, when enemies rise against you, remember God can turn the weakest into the boldest, the overlooked into the chosen, the ordinary into the extraordinary. This was the story of Esther, the queen who risked everything to save her people. Subscribe for the next episode of Bible Dramas.